So you're telling me that there's an Eeb clone modeled after Kirby named Eebee? How did that happen? I don't know, but there's more to the story. He has an arch enemy, you know. Don't tell me. It's an Eeb clone modeled after King Dedede. His name is King Eebee. So the story goes, once King Eebee stole all the games Eebee had at the time. The only game he had anyways was Sonic 06. Of all games, shouldn't he be more obsessed with food or something? Anyways, this makes Eebee angry and go after King Eebee. He reaches Eebee's castle, they fight, and Eebee ends up victorious. The end. I have so many questions. But why did this more or less go the same way as Kirby's Dream Land? Huh? What do you mean? You mean to tell me you've never played through the Dream Land series? No, I haven't. Great. Now I'm gonna have to pull a Donkey Kong Country video on you. Not again. Your fault for not playing these relics. Maybe I should start playing them so I could never go through this ever again.
Kirby's Dream Land first came out for the Game Boy on April 27, 1992. It's quite the old game, but somehow younger than Super Mario World. I don't know why, but Kirby games first came out for the older consoles before making their way to the modern console at the time. In other words, this game came out while the SNES was the main focus. This is the first Kirby game ever made, and it was made after Nintendo requested a game anyone can have fun with. The man himself, Masahiro Sakurai, made the proposal for this game, and the rest is history. So did this game actually deliver in terms of being fun for everyone? So the game is different to what you may know of modern Kirby. 1. Kirby doesn't have his copy abilities. 2. You can't run at all in this game.
As to whether it's fun for everyone, why don't you talk about that? I saw you playing the game this entire time. It's not that long of a game, so you should be done with it by now. Huh? Me? Okay.
This is the most unique mainline Kirby game by far. Given that it's the first, that's kind of to be expected. But here's the thing, you know Kirby's main ability? Yeah, the stealing of abilities. That doesn't exist in this game. It was more like a traditional platformer where you just get from point A to point B and defeat enemies by just inhaling them and spitting them back out. There were some items which help you defeat the enemies around you and whatnot, but really, it's just a Kirby game with no copy abilities. You can't run in this game, making it feel pretty slow a lot of the time. But since it's a short game, it doesn't feel too big of a hassle to play. The levels are pretty decently length, and all the levels in this game are pretty much all the themes you would see in the future games. Nothing really stands out in particular for me to talk about, so I'll just leave it at that.
Pretty short, huh? Well, it's not that long of a game. Why don't you talk about the story too? Push all the responsibility to me, why don't ya? Well, I guess it's not that deep of a story.
Once upon a time in Dreamland, King Dedede stole all the food of that land in the sparkling stars, which is what the Dreamlanders used to make that food. Then Kirby told them, "Don't worry, I'll get your food and your sparkling stars back." I'm not lying. That's literally what he tells them according to the instruction booklet for this game. So Kirby pretty much goes to King Dedede to do just that. The end.
Doesn't King Dedede sound just like King K. Rool? Wow, you actually remembered that story. Good on you. Anyways, I'm gonna take over from here.
Kirby's Dream Land 2 came out in 1995 for the original Game Boy. Although at this time the SNES was the big thing, it's a pretty bold decision for them to make this game not for it. This game, and the rest of the Dreamland series, was not directed by Sakurai as he was working on other Kirby projects. In fact, the year after this game came out, Superstar came out, and I have a whole video talking about that if you want to check it out. The game is pretty similar to the first game, with this time you can actually get copy abilities. A lot of the copy abilities are the same as Kirby's Adventure, but not all of them are in. However, the copy abilities aren't the main thing in this game. They're actually the friends you can get within the level. There are 3 you can get: Rick the hamster, Ku the owl, and Kine the ocean sunfish. The last one was oddly specific, wasn't it? These guys are an essential part to 100%ing the game. They change the way you play the level, with Rick being fast, Ku being able to withstand windy areas, and Kine being great in water. Not only do you get those perks while riding them, they also have unique versions of Kirby's copy abilities. So not only do you have the copy abilities now, but you also have 4 different ways of using them depending on your situation. That makes this game pretty cool. There are these collectibles you would find in each world called rainbow drops. Once you have all the rainbow drops, after you beat the final boss, you can get the true final boss as a result. They can be such a hassle to get, you know. In my experience playing the game, I only found one without a guide, and that was for the first world. But to truly 100% the game, you have to do this one minigame that comes after re-entering a boss level. After you get 100%, you get 3 new modes to the game, which are a music room, boss rush, and another version of the minigame you get when re-entering the boss room. Overall, the game has a lot more content to enjoy compared to the first game, as expected of a sequel. Levels are a bit different. There are a lot more compared to the first game. There are actually worlds now too. If anything, this feels more like a watered down Kirby's Adventure. The levels would have paths where you can utilize the new friends that were added. Of course, you don't need them to beat a level, but they would typically give you some sort of bonus for using them. Within the levels, there would typically be a mid-level boss where you can get the friends from. At the end of every world, there's a boss level. The bosses in the game are pretty average. Nothing special really. The final 2 bosses are King Dedede and this game's main villain, Dark Matter. His boss fight reminds me a lot of the end of Kirby's Adventure if anything. If you actually stay in this fight for too long, you lose automatically. I know this because I did that. But in the end, this game isn't that bad. Better than the first in my opinion, but there would not really be a reason to play since Kirby's Adventure came out before this game. And in modern times you have better options. This game's story is, one day in Dreamland, the Rainbow Bridge, which connected the Rainbow Islands, was taken away by a being called Dark Matter. Dark Matter went on to possess King Dedede, which let him conquer Dreamland. So Kirby went on a journey to collect the Rainbow Drops, which when all of them are obtained, you can wield the Rainbow Sword. This sword is necessary to be able to defeat Dark Matter. Once Kirby gets to King Dedede, he must defeat him first to be able to fight Dark Matter. And once he defeats Dark Matter, Kirby uses the sword to make a rainbow, which I guess returns peace to the world. I mean, now we're getting kind of dark with the Kirby stories, but I guess this is a trend that started since Kirby's Adventure.
Well, I guess this game doesn't sound that bad. Oh, but wait until you know about Dreamland 3.
Kirby's Dream Land 3 came out on the SNES in 1997 for the West and 1998 for the East. It's kind of strange that it came out for the West first. I wonder why. Anyways, this was also not directed by Sakurai, so like, there's that. This came out after Kirby Superstar and yet doesn't really add anything Superstar added, but there isn't anything really to say about this game's history. The game is the best of the 3 in this series. Since it's on more powerful hardware, it has more going for it than the other 2 games. Kirby can actually run for one. The copy abilities are less than Kirby's Adventure, but there is a new one with cleaning, and the friends from the last game return with even more added this time. Honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of the friend feature at first with Dreamland 2, but this game honestly made them pretty fun to use. Just like the last game, they all have their unique abilities with Kirby's copy abilities. This time, all friends feel a lot more unique with their different traits. Rick now has the ability to wall jump, which is pretty cool. Ku and Keen haven't really changed much in this game, but the 3 new friends are a cat named Nago, an octopus named Choo Choo, and a bird named Pitch. I'm not gonna lie, I thought Choo Choo was a piece of slime this entire time until I just looked at the Kirby wiki for this part. Nago can triple jump with every jump being shorter than the other. I've noticed that his copy abilities are genuinely the strongest the game has to offer. I don't really like using Choo Choo, but she can climb roofs. She feels like the weakest you can use in this game. And Pitch is a bird that honestly doesn't have anything crazy going on for him. He really just makes you fly differently, but you would typically use him just for the puzzles needed to get 100% for this game. Also, you can call upon GUI to help you with the levels by pressing the A button. I actually really don't like this feature because for one, GUI isn't really that useful in my opinion, and 2, I would sometimes confuse the jump button with the GUI button. It gets really annoying after a while. The levels are pretty good. There are 6 worlds in this game and about 6 levels with a boss level in each world. In every non-boss level, there would be some sort of mission you would have to do in order to get this game's collectible, the Heart Star. You would get some sort of hint with the level's thumbnail as to what mission you would have to do in the level. But basically, after you hear some ominous sounding sound effect, that would basically indicate that this is the level's mission. After you complete it, you would hear some sort of completion chime, and at the end of the level, you would get the heart star. It gives the levels some sort of uniqueness rather than just another level where the objective is going from point A to point B. I guess if you're not seeking out these heart stars, the game can feel that way. Once you get all the heart stars from each level, you have to fight the boss of the world to rid the darkness in that area. Bosses are pretty cool. There's this one boss called Ado, not the singer, and she looks a lot like Adeline from Kirby 64. Given that this game came out before, I guess this was like the prototype for the character, but no one actually knows the answer. It doesn't help with the fact that Adeline's Japanese name is pronounced Adorin, which in turn just gives her the same 3 letters that this character has. Anyways, once again, there is King Dedede who can be the final boss, but if you get all the heart stars, you get the true final boss Zero. I really like this final boss for a Kirby game, and it's a lot more fun than the second game. But overall, that's Kirby's Dream Land 3. I highly recommend this one. For the final story of today, the game now takes place in Planet Popstar, which does indeed have Dreamland in it. The difference is, now Kirby is going through the entire planet instead of some islands. So one day, Kirby and Gooey were fishing only for some darkness to spread through Popstar and destroy its rings. So Kirby goes on an adventure to restore Planet Popstar by ridding the darkness that engulfed the planet. Once Kirby gets all the heart stars, he confronts Dedede, who's possessed by something. Why is Dedede always just possessed? Now that I think about it, every game that Sakura made in the Kirby series didn't have Dedede possessed, so it's more of a Hal thing. Anyways, once Kirby defeats King Dedede, the darkness comes out of him and Kirby uses the heart stars to fight the being known as Zero. It takes shape as dark matter at first, but once you've defeated that phase, it shows its true form, and that is when Kirby can defeat the evil once and for all. At the end, all the darkness is vanquished and Kirby pretty much saves the day. If anything, this game reminds me a lot of Kirby 64. Maybe this can be seen as the precursor to that game or something. Now, music is pretty alright. Kirby's Dream Land 1 has a lot of iconic songs. Dream Land 2 is honestly pretty forgettable. And Dream Land 3 has some bangers. I've come to actually dislike the Game Boy compressed music and even the NES one too. So I can't really say I'm a huge fan of Dream Land 1 and 2's OST. On the other hand, Dream Land 3 has some great songs with the cave music and Sand Canyon being my favorites. You may have heard the cave song from Kirby Star Allies' Planet Mystine theme. But yeah, pretty good OST for the third game. Graphics are practically the same with the first and second game, but the third game has this picture book look to it. The good thing I could say about the first 2 games is that they're easy to make out what you're looking at, which is pretty important for graphics. The third game is fine, and with its aesthetic, it gives off a very warm vibe. In fact, the entire game does, which may be why I like it so much. Although the final boss is far from being relaxing, the entire game just feels chill. If you get the chance, play the third game. The first 2 are pretty fine too if you want to play them.
Hey, why don't you use that tier list you made not too long ago? Oh yeah, I did just make that, didn't I? I guess there may be some value to it after all.
So where I'd put these games in the tier list are pretty scattered. Well, not really, but although Dream Land 1 wasn't bad, I can't say I would yearn to play the game again, so I'd put it in B tier. The same goes for Dream Land 2. However, Dream Land 3 is a different story. I enjoyed the game a lot. I didn't find it fun at the start, honestly, but that was because of how different of a Kirby game it is. After I understood the gimmicks and what was actually meant to be done in the game felt very fun, and I honestly would put it in S tier. The game is just really calming and a great time. It utilizes its features pretty well, and you would have to play this game using a different mindset to the type of Kirby game it is. I would say Superstar is the better game, but this game was not bad at all.
So that's Kirby's Dream Land, huh? Yep. Now you see why Eebee's story is kinda similar to the first game. Yeah, I wonder what the little guy's up to. Beats me. I hope I never have to cross paths with such a monstrosity.